autonomous mining. ASI offers autonomous vehicle solutions that are OEM independent, allowing mixed fleets to operate seamlessly. Put your mine at the leading edge.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today on Uptime Logistics. It's powered by CAP Logistics, and I'm your host, Doug Draper. I'm with Acme Distribution and the Denver Transportation Club, and we are excited about today's guest. It's a great topic everybody has interest in. I know that I do. And with us today is Drew Larson. He's with ASI Mining. It's innovative robotic solutions specific to the mining industry. And we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff with autonomous mining and support services out there. So I'm looking forward to a great show. But we always like to start off and learn a little bit about our guest and kind of their journey and story and their career. So first of all, Drew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Doug. It's great to be here. I'm excited to share some cool information about what's happening in mining with technology.
Yeah, perfect. Well, like I said, we like to learn a little bit about you. So give us kind of your history. What's your story, Drew? Give us a lowdown and kind of how you found your way to ASI, and then maybe a little bit about your company.
Well, great. Yeah, thanks, Doug. I started off as a computer scientist programmer for an aerospace company years ago at the beginning of my career, and was doing factory automation for aircraft production in Southern California. And kind of got me in the technology space with things that really try to increase productivity and make things more efficient in production environments. Mm-hmm. I moved into more international things, worked for a company doing airport equipment supply throughout the world. And that also had a technology element to it. And then eventually after 9/11, some things changed in the industry, and I moved into vehicle production with an OEM producing specialized vehicles to the market. So I've had this blend of technology and vehicles, factory automation, and about 7 years ago, actually, I heard about this cool technology company that was doing self-driving robotics in different industries. And I thought, man, that is the coupling of everything I love: big machines, trucks, and other mobile equipment with technology, and worked out that I was just fascinated with the company, what they did. Global reach is what I really had an emphasis in. And so it was the perfect way for me to kind of pair my background in technology with my love for big machines and equipment. And so that is ASI Autonomous Solutions, and it has not disappointed. It's been really a thrill and a challenge ever since. So I currently am the Director of Business Development for ASI Mining. ASI is kind of focused on several different industries, but I am specifically in the mining industry, which is really probably the industry that leverages the autonomous technology more so than probably any other industry out there, just because of the secure nature of mines, etc. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice, that's great. Well, we'll jump into the topic. I love the fact that big machines and robots, right? I was excited about it, and obviously that's the reason you got into this. So great topic. But, one thing that struck me as you and I were talking earlier this week is the autonomous technology and why it's so important specific to mining. I know ASI does a handful of things, but, how is autonomous technology really developed, and talk about its importance into the mining industry specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really goes to what's the value proposition that robotics can bring into mining. And there's several. Mines have been focused on safety for years. They're probably, from a regulatory standpoint, the most regulated industries out there. They're hazardous environments. They're people in very dirty and dangerous places, and so they are exposed to hazards. And unfortunately, the industry does experience annually fatalities and injuries throughout the industry, which is always unfortunate. The good thing is that mining has been very aggressive in focusing on solutions and improvements for human safety, and robotics is probably the single biggest driver of safety improvements, just because we can remove operators from those hazardous environments and either put them remotely in an office environment or somewhere that's removed from that situation. So safety is always a big driver. And then, of course, there's some other practical things. Cost. Having more production with the same fleet size that they currently have, squeezing more out of their assets. These big haul trucks, they're paying $4 to $6 million for a big 250-ton haul truck. You want to use that asset as much as you possibly can, and so autonomy really helps to increase the utilization of those vehicles. Robots can drive when humans want to take breaks and shift changes and everything else. So the boost to both productivity and cost reduction is a big one as well. And the last thing I'll mention is that mining is one of those industries where it's been a bit of a challenge to get perhaps younger people to be interested in those careers. So mines have kind of struggled, as many industries have, with attracting new talent, new labor force to come, especially in some of the remote areas of the world where mining exists. So it's always been a challenge for mines to get a full roster of people needed to really operate their mines and have that stable, reliable workforce. So those are kind of the big drivers of autonomy, and it's a perfect pairing because the technology solves exactly those key problems very nicely.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking that the autonomous nature of things, people will either immediately think of things they can see on the surface, and here's this autonomous truck that I can see, and then there's autonomous underneath the ground, right? And so do you guys get involved with both, I guess, for lack of a better comparison, above ground and below ground, and the automation that's involved with that? Are they same types of technology, just different pieces of equipment? Is one more advanced than the other? Is one more important than the other? Talk and maybe compare and contrast surface automation versus underground automation.
Yeah, definitely. They are similar in a lot of ways. In that we have to control a vehicle, whether it's above ground or below. We have to be able to command braking, steering, acceleration, transmission, etc. So we do have onboard automation that we typically retrofit a conversion of a vehicle so that it becomes what's referred to as drive-by-wire. So it can be controlled electronically. And that's common surface and underground. The way that autonomous vehicles navigate traditionally in mining is that through GPS positioning, right? So surface automation, we have access to satellites. We can position vehicles using GPS anywhere in the mine using that GPS, which does not occur underground. So we're in a GPS denied environment underground, which poses a big challenge for how vehicles can be navigated underground. So they use things like cameras and LiDAR and radar solutions that can localize or identify their position using these sensors that give kind of a relative position based on where they are, what things they've seen before. You could kind of compare it to as you're driving through a tunnel that's got some features. You say, "Oh, I've seen that before. I know where that is," and so these systems can recognize different characteristics of their environment and be able to identify where they are. Much bigger technical challenge to position, and so. It is something that the technology exists to be able to navigate and operate underground. Our company is focused primarily on surface just because there's so much low-hanging fruit there. But autonomy in underground is definitely a critical thing that is being deployed successfully now. Underground work is inherently more dangerous, so that there is more risk there. So definitely the need is probably greater in underground mining from a safety standpoint. So yeah, the long answer to the question is yes, it exists in both. There's some different challenges with communication and GPS underground. Those problems are being solved. Those problems definitely are solvable, and the technology is being deployed underground. But surface is definitely where the majority of mining exists today. A much bigger portion of the overall mining industry is surface mining. And so that's our primary focus. But yeah, our roadmap definitely intends to be underground as well.
Nice. Well, like anything in life and advancements as we move forward, there's always inherent challenges with implementation and things. And I'm sure there's been some challenges and opportunities, maybe is a better word, that you've been able to identify and overcome. A couple that I wanted to maybe touch on would be, kind of the cost return on investment, and then maybe opportunities for not a full-on integration or transition to autonomy, but maybe a hybrid operation where you're trying to connect autonomous features to parts of the system that are not autonomous. So maybe I guess the question here is, what challenges have you guys run into and opportunities as you've done the integration when you're out in the field?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things to comment on there. The key drivers, as I mentioned, really it's based on a return on investment model, ROI model that basically says as we automate things, what's the return from the automation? It is not inexpensive. These are not easy problems to solve. The technology includes a layer of infrastructure requirement, network communications and things that do add up to a lot of investment. And so really being able to command a haul truck, for example, really what that does is, as I mentioned before, getting a truck that's in a 24/7 operational environment that has to pause as drivers have to be replaced as the end of the shifts, and you've got that shift change element that causes downtime, breaks and absenteeism. There's a lot of different kinds of delays that can occur in a mining environment. So in a 24-hour clock, a mining truck might be operated 80% of the time. Maybe you look at something like 16 hours a day, for example, of a real productive use out of that vehicle. If you eliminate those human caused delays with the technology, you can squeeze maybe 3-4 hours a day of additional mining using that truck. And so you look at what's those 4 hours of time worth in terms of a dollar. And generally, as you add that up over time and compare that with the cost, the initial CapEx cost of rolling these systems out, the return on investment is definitely there. And so that's why these autonomous systems are continuing to expand globally. They've been growing year over year at a pretty significant rate. We're still early on in the overall life cycle of the technology in mining, but its pace of adoption is really remarkable and accelerating. You talked about integration of things. It is not an easy problem, as I mentioned. So we do need to integrate with network systems. These can be LTE systems or Wi-Fi systems that basically allow us to communicate between a truck and a control station, for example, that knows where everything is in proximity to each other. And so integration with those communication layers. We have to integrate with what's called dispatch systems, fleet management systems that really orchestrate where things go. So, we can control a machine or a truck, but how do we know where it's supposed to go? Well, we have to integrate with these existing systems that are dispatching the trucks. Those are a couple of examples, but boy, there's a lot of different things. Onboard tire pressure monitoring systems, the trucks are monitoring wheel pressure. We don't have a human there, so what happens if we get a flat tire? Well, we have to be able to electronically detect that and then account for that. So all of those integrations with third-party, high-level systems and base truck systems are definitely part of this big integration package. And so, it's complex. It requires a lot of integration work, and it is not an inexpensive venture, but the returns are still quite attractive based on what the technology can ultimately do for the mines.
Yeah, I had not thought about the integration with other third-party software and service overlays, right? There's a lot more than just a human in a cab moving a vehicle, and so that I could definitely see the opportunity there for enhancement. One question. So that's the integration piece, the adaptation, right? We're potentially replacing humans, and humans have pride and emotion, and there may be, reluctancy to say, listen, I know where to go in the mine. I know I'm best. I've been doing this for years, and I know how to find things and make this process more efficient. That's a skill, a dance that you have between adaptation and tribal knowledge of my skill set as a human versus the integration or versus the automation that's coming to the table. How have you seen that? That's more kind of the HR touchy-feely aspect of it, but I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah, it's a really important factor. We've been really fortunate in the industry. To date, and mining has been adopting autonomous technology for over a decade, but to date, there have not been reported a single instance of a layoff associated with the deployment of automation for driving vehicles. Obviously the stereotype is, well, that the robots are going to come and replace jobs, and we're going to have to lay off a bunch of drivers, and that just hasn't traditionally been the case. It is true that the workforce changes, that those driving positions can be changed. What we've seen most commonly occur is that it provides more opportunity for those drivers, for example, to take different jobs, to move into the organizations. And so far, the industry has been really good about absorbing those positions and letting attrition deal with some of the reductions that are possible in the industry. So it has not achieved the reputation of being this big job killer that was originally kind of thought about. So that's been really good. In fact, I would just say that, yes, it does give a lot of opportunity for retraining into maybe higher paid jobs, more skilled jobs. There's definitely opportunities for people that are interested in more of the technical careers and whatnot. So it's been a great opportunity for a lot of people that really can play in that space and have skills that lend itself to that. So yeah, so far it's been a good success story, I think, with how to handle the human factors.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I really like the fact that there hasn't been, any layoffs. Obviously, you can't speak to every situation, but it's not this mass exodus or robots are replacing humans. Really, really good to see it's complementary, because trust me, the first thing are like, robots are taking over the world and what's going on? I'm going to lose my job type of thing, and when you have something so tangible, massive piece of equipment above ground or underground that's moving by itself, the natural tendency is there used to be a human controlling this, and now it's a robot, but ultimately there still is a human engaged. It's just at a different level. So here, all right, this is a cool question that I like to ask Drew is future trends, kind of 5, 7, 10 years out. You said this is kind of the infancy stages of what's out there and the potential. Talk about or paint a picture to us of what the automation looks like in 5, 7 years out, or even just paint a picture of what the mining situation looks like. Explain kind of how things are going to be moving, operating, integrating differently 5 years from now.
Yeah, that's a hard one to really answer. I'll try to just give you a couple of different thoughts that we have, and um, you can definitely see, not only in mining but in automotive space and other industries, that the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers that produce the vehicles, are very committed to automation, to autonomous control of their vehicles. And so as it is in our industry, in mining, most of the major OEMs are very active in this space, deploying systems that are autonomous driving, and so they are continuing. I think what will continue over time is that most vehicles produced at some point in time will come from the factory as fairly drive-by-wire, and definitely autonomous ready, as you could refer to it. And so that is just going to become the norm. Self-driving capable vehicles are just going to be normal in mining. That is the key thing. And so we see that happening. Our focus has been an agnostic approach. We're independent from OEMs, and so we're more of an integration engineering company, if you will, that can take vehicles, the capabilities that come from OEMs, and get them to work with other makes and models of vehicles in kind of a mixed environment. OEMs tend to try to have leverage technology to basically facilitate more vehicle sales, and so very much their technology is paired with their strategy of promoting their own brands. Whereas independent suppliers, we have much more opportunity to kind of mix and match and put things together from different OEMs and get them to work in a system, integrate with third-party systems, and the interoperability, or the ability to integrate with those third-party systems, is really kind of what independent companies like ASI focuses on. And we feel like that is a real big advantage in the industry, to remain independent, agnostic, and be able to put things together. The path for an independent supplier might say, well, we'll be able to mix and match with different OEM solutions as they come more and more technology ready from factory, and put them together. And so we do see that continuing to happen. 5G's just come out, and it's being deployed globally. So you see communication technology becoming more and more ubiquitous, more and more capable of higher bandwidths and greater speeds and latency, et cetera. And so that is definitely an enabler for the technology in mining and other industries. We do rely on a communication layer. And so as communications continue to accelerate, the advancements there, that further makes these systems inherently more reliable, more capable to do more things. Streaming video and that kind of thing is definitely limited with low bandwidth networks. So it opens up the door for a lot of interesting things. The other thing I would mention is that, we've talked about haul trucks. So I might show a picture of a ultra class haul truck. These 270 ton, up to 400 ton haul trucks that run around with no drivers in them. But really, in mining is really driven by a whole ecosystem of machines, starting with the drilling process. So autonomous drills are definitely on the market today. They're produced and can navigate a drill bench and very precisely drill holes, followed by blasting trucks that come in and charge those holes with explosives and detonation, and be able to conduct a blast that will fragment the material and make it conducive for the loading, which is next when they come in with the shovels and diggers and remove that material, load the haul trucks, and haul that to crusher or elsewhere. So all throughout that process, there are heavy machines, dangerous jobs, opportunities for improvement in utilization and safety and productivity. And so, we see this ecosystem continuing to flesh out with more and more autonomous capabilities. So, drilling, certainly autonomous drilling is here today. We also have a blasting program where we're actually in a semi-autonomous fashion delivering explosives to the blast bench, haulage, etc. But some of the other exciting things down the road are things like loading. We've automated wheel loaders that can remove material from a stockpile and take it to a waiting truck and load it without a single operator in the truck. And so that is technology that's coming. Probably the hardest problem is that the excavator, though, is digging material out without a human in that autonomously, just because of the nature of being able to sense material and know how to position the bucket and all that. But over time, these things will continue to flesh out and capabilities will grow such that the entire mining operation can become more and more integrated, more and more autonomous, more efficient. And really, you think about that as a manufacturing process where these different things become very automated, integrated, work together, and much more efficient. So that's really the path we're on. And frankly, it'll probably take a decade to really achieve all that. So I'd say there's plenty of opportunity across the entire ecosystem of mining operations.
Yeah, no, that's great. Earlier you said that a key point is connecting with third-party overlays and things of that nature. And I had not thought about what you just said, is that you can automate multiple features. Because when we were talking, it's like, okay, the haul truck that you spoke about earlier, it's tangible, it's visible, but that's only one small part of the automation picture that and the potential that's out there for savings. Safety obviously is a huge part of it, and then validating the return on investment. So if we have some of our listeners that want to get more information about what your company does, or hey, I know somebody that may have interest in learning more about these types of services, what do they do to learn more? How do they contact you? Give us that lowdown.
Yeah, well, we're talking about mining today, but we're doing some really cool things in other industries as well. Automotive, we are out in a lot of different proving grounds with the big automotive companies. We've done work in agriculture, and we're doing some really cool things around some of those other industries as well. Material handling and logistics. There's just an intense interest in automation in general, probably for the same reasons that are happening in mining, labor factors, safety, etc. And so, yeah, we're very much broadly focused across multiple industries. In mining, obviously, we are a pretty well-known brand in mining automation. But for those that want to learn more and have a passion for this, ASIRobots.com is our website. We have some cool things that we can show on our website and learn more about the technology. And that we're out there at trade shows and throughout the industry. So. It's a very cool thing to see these robots being deployed. We've all heard about Google car and Apple and all that, and these things that are self-driving on pedestrian streets. But we're actually in production in mining. This is real. It's today. It's very active, and so if you want to kind of get a glimpse of the future, go to mining because that's where it's happening right now.
Nice. Yeah, if you want to geek out, I guess that's maybe the word you're looking for, but it's definitely interesting. And this show and your comments today have been really, really educational. There's definitely connections I had not thought of when on service we started talking about the innovative robotic solutions at ASI Mining. And Drew Larson, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Hopefully our audience enjoyed our conversation. And again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Doug. Thank you for the time and been fun. Thank you.
Awesome. And I'd also like to thank our audience today for joining us on Uptime Logistics. Of course, it's powered by Cap Logistics, and you can find more information about the show in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Cap Logistics channel, and please visit caplogistics.com for customized transportation solutions. Drew, have an awesome rest of your winter. Thanks for joining us on the Uptime Logistics podcast today.
Thanks, Doug.
Take care, everybody.